Great. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it's a great point. When Dave and I were talking about the seminar, trying to think, well, why it's obviously a hot issue for organizations, churches, ministries, businesses, individuals, authors, family reunions. Social media is all over the place. And since this is sort of my area of expertise, we thought it would be good to spend a specific amount of time talking about how integrity looks. And hopefully this will be applicable to you in personal business. But let's just do a quick show of hands. How many people know what social media is, or at least have some scope of what we're talking about? You know, Facebook, Twitter, stuff online, engagement, interaction. Now here's a little tougher question. If you could tell me what this logo is.
Facebook.
All right, doing good, doing good. What about this one right here?
LinkedIn.
Hey.
Ha! Sorry.
Just kidding. And what about this one? Let's give it freebie. And then can you see that big one in the background? It's kind of a turquoise color. That's Twitter back there. Yeah, that's my fault for the presentation. But what about this one? Bonus if you can tell me what social network this is. All right, this is Flickr. Flickr is started out as for photo sharing for photo geeks, but now is basically everyone uses it as a photo sharing site. So that's a freebie. If you got all those, you win a prize. Send me an email. But why so much focus on social media? And I think thinking about the impact apart from the hype, there's three main reasons about why this is something we should pay attention to. And the first is that it's an enormous amount of communication volume. Talk about a lot of discussion happening in a fixed place that a few years ago didn't exist. Social media is something to pay attention to. Second, all of us are connected in some way. Maybe you have a Facebook account, or maybe you created one to spy on your kids or your grandson or something like that. But if you're in email or website world, your chances are it's connecting with you in some way. Maybe your company has a presence. Maybe your church is using social media to disseminate information, engage a little bit. So all of us are connected in some fashion. And then lastly, it's shockingly personal, volatile, and powerful. You can't watch the nightly news without getting some taste about how social media or something that people are doing online is making headlines. So these are just three things to keep in mind about why this is an important topic. Earlier, Dave talked about using the puzzle piece, integrated. And I remember this story from John Eldridge's book, Wild at Heart. He was saying, his wife would call him at work, and they'd be interchanging, and then eventually she just stopped calling him. And he was like, "Why don't you call me at work anymore?" And she said, "Every time I call, you have your work voice on. I don't really like talking to work, John. I want to talk to husband, John." And I always remember that story because it really made me think, do I have a work voice? Do I have a church voice? Do I have a social media voice? And I think at that moment I sort of realized that we all do sometimes have different projections of ourselves. And like a puzzle piece, there's church John, social John, hanging out with friends John, and then, online John, or presentation speaker John. So again, integrity, getting integrated, the puzzle pieces connecting to be one person. Not that you always interact the same with everyone, but that you're one person. You're authentic in the sense that you are one person, not many people. So a person who has integrity is the person who has one identity, not a separate one for each context they're in. Doesn't mean you share everything with everyone. Doesn't mean you engage the same way with everyone. But there's a sense that social media creates a unique opportunity, and I guess a bit of a temptation to be inauthentic or to create another version of ourselves that is not authentic. So just the takeaway, and this, like Dave said, writing reinforces. So go ahead and write these down. I'm going to give you the 5 commitments of social media integrity, not the 5 commandments, because you can only use that analogy if you have 10 things. I only have 5, so they're the 5 commitments. And these I think you can apply anywhere if you're the face of your business online, or if this is just for you personally, or maybe if you volunteer at a church or have some interaction with your pastor or leadership. These are 5 principles of social integrity that you should be able to apply anywhere based on what Dave's talked about and what we've seen. So the first one is, I commit to communicating accurately and without exaggeration or omission. So being precise and realistic about what the service is that you provide or the value that you have, and not omitting things that are important. Our software is the greatest ever. Everyone should buy it. And then you don't tell people, oh, well, only if you have Windows 7. It doesn't work for Mac. So you want to be authentic in the sense that you disclaim properly and that you also give a proper perception about what your product or service can or can't do. So that's the first one. The second one, I commit to staying humble about my skills and accomplishments, but not to minimize the quality of my work either. And Dave talked a little bit about from Proverbs how there's always the correlation between humility and success. And knowledge and loftiness and credentials puff up, but what really gets traction